any connection. If you've already seen a video that's already gone out, I'm gonna delete that upload because something happened oddly during the stream. But anyway, we're back with another video today. Attempt number 2. Let's hope nothing happens this time. Let's hope we get through all cleanly. So, today we're going to predict the driver lineup for 2020. I know it's early on in the season still. There's still half a season to run. Anything could happen in the Drivers' or Constructors' Championship. However, let's face fact, okay, that one thing is for certain. Soon the Championship will be over as well. We're only actually 6 or less than 6 months away from the Championship ending in December. So, yeah, it's not that long to go now. It's very scary how time has flown so far this season, even though we've still got half a Formula 1 calendar yet to run. In part number 1 and 2, we spoke about Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull, their driver lineups, and decided neither of their driver lineups were going to change. Then in part number 2, we spoke about Renault, McLaren and Alfa Romeo, and agreed that neither of their driver lineups were really going to change except one. Mick Schumacher was coming in to replace Giovinazzi at Alfa Romeo. And today we're going to talk about Haas, Racing Point, Toro Rosso and Williams. Let's start off with obviously Racing Point. Okay, and yeah, in my opinion, at Racing Point, nothing will change for 2020. Absolutely nothing. I don't see any reason why. Current driver lineup: Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll, father currently owns this team effectively, so effectively, Daddy's little son is currently in the team. And why would you get rid of your son unless he was a load of rubbish? But I don't think Lance Stroll or Lawrence Stroll isn't going to do that. So effectively, Lance Stroll has a say who's alongside him, and I think the relationship between him and Sergio Perez is pretty good right now. The relationship that Sergio's had with Force India in the past and with now Racing Point seems to be pretty still good. So I don't really see any change realistically happening here. Next, we come on to Haas. Now, Haas, there's already been rumours circulating. Now, in my opinion, okay, Grosjean, he's on his way out. Let's admit it. Grosjean been in Formula 1 now for the past, what? Oh, he's been in Formula 1 certainly since 2012. So, how many seasons is that? About 7. 7 years. And during them 7 years, he's had a couple podiums here and there. Probably the best podium he had was back in, I think, 2014 it was, or was it 2014 or, yeah, 2014, with, I think it was, what you call it, I think it was Lotus back then, I'm not sure. I know it was a team, they had like a gold and brown car sort of colour scheme, but I think it was Lotus. I'm going to go with Lotus. And yeah, got a podium here and there, but he's never in his career looked absolutely clinically great as a driver. But now more than ever, especially in the previous 2 years, he's failing to score points on regular occasions. It's becoming like every race now type stuff. So failing to score points. But not only that, just not showing any signs of encouragement or pace from himself, and is clashing now with his teammates, which isn't great either. So for me, he needs to go. It's the end of his career. He's been in Formula 1 7 years. He's had 7 chances, effectively. Not one of those, really, where he's proven himself to be a capable Formula 1 driver, capable of scoring points on regular occasions, but not only that, a worthy driver in the Haas team and a number 1 driver. For me, his time's spent, and, you know, being that his time is spent, I think he needs to go from Formula 1. But who do you replace him Well, I think Pascal Wehrlein would be a good replacement for him. A young German driver. I think he's like 22 or 23 years old now, Pascal. Currently racing in Formula E. But Pascal would be a great driver. He was good back in his day. And in fact, very, very unlucky to get axed from Sauber in replace of Charles Leclerc. But not only unlucky to get axed sort of thing, he was unlucky that he didn't get a seat, because the man who did get a seat next to Leclerc was Marcus Ericsson, who got axed last season, or after last season, for this season. So, effectively, you know, like, Sauber, you know, really, really unlucky what happened to Wehrlein, sorry, instead of, I think, Ericsson. And I always say, at the time, I felt Pascal deserved more than Ericsson. Pascal scored, I think, 5 points for Sauber, but that was 5 more points than the man opposite him, or in the same side, or on the other side of the garage, in Marcus Ericsson. So, yeah, okay, he didn't score 100 points, but he still scored 5 points for you, and you repay him through axing him and telling him au revoir, more or less. So yeah, for me, would make also a really nice addition if Pascal did come back to Formula 1 into this car. I think that'd be really, really nice for Haas, and again, a quality driver who's been driving in Formula E. He does have good racing calibre. However, who goes alongside Pascal is another question. I think that man should be Magnussen. And the reason why I say Magnussen is because I think Haas think it should be Magnussen as well. The simple fact is, Magnussen, I think they feel, needs a new teammate right now. He needs to regain some confidence in himself. And I don't think all is lost with K-Mag, or with Kevin Magnussen. Kevin is a good driver, there's no doubt. He is quick, just like Romain Grosjean. However, he does seem to be a bit more consistent in his driving, which is something I think a team would want, more than the inconsistency. But not only is there that, but I think the team are feeling like he deserves one more opportunity to get it right with Haas, otherwise he'd be soon following Roman out the door possibly. So yeah, that's my opinion on that, and yeah, that's my prediction. So Magnussen and Wehrlein alongside each other, possibly even sooner than we think, maybe even after the summer break, but certainly I think for 2020. Next, we come on to Toro Rosso, and I don't think there's going to be any changes here whatsoever in Danny Kvyat or Alex Albon. I think both of these drivers, Alex and Kvyat, have deserved their seat. Alex, really, really good, you know, junior rookie season in Formula 1, and been on, you know, you could argue, on a par with his teammate, and in fact, even has outraced his teammate at times, who is much more senior and has had much more Formula 1 experience, not just in Formula 1, but also in a top team. We can't forget, Kvyat did race for the senior Red Bull team back in 2015 and at the beginning of 2016, where he scored multiple podiums for sure. However, was axed in replacement for Max Verstappen. Now, in my opinion, okay, obviously, looking back on it, okay, I felt like at the time, okay, I did feel it was wrong, okay, but I understood why Red Bull wanted Max over Kvyat and why they wanted Daniel over Kvyat. See, the thing is, Max was a young driver. He was probably the hottest prospect in Formula 1 at the time, whereas Kvyat, you know, was still a hot prospect, but he wasn't maybe necessarily the man who you'd want to partner the Dutchman. You'd want someone maybe a bit more complacent. I think that's what Red Bull were worried about. Kvyat could have been very much complacent and maybe wouldn't obey team orders, possibly, and they could see plenty of crashes. So that's why they preferred to stick with Ricciardo instead. I'm not calling Ricciardo terrible, but I think they thought Ricciardo would give Max Verstappen an easier time. After all, they did the same with Sebastian, more or less, kept Webber over anyone else for Sebastian, so yeah. But in my opinion, neither driver has really warranted to lose their seat, and that's why I would have to say both of them will stay at Toro Rosso for 2020 and for the near future. I don't see either Kvyat or Albon going anywhere for 2020. And finally, we come on to Rocket Williams Racing, the final team in this series. 3 parts, and we've now arrived at our 10th team in the end. I know this video is like, all 3 parts have been estimated guesses, but yeah, I think this one, right, let's start with George Russell. George, I think he's going nowhere. He's not going to be promoted to Mercedes, but nor is he leaving Williams, I don't think. So for me, it's certainly George. We might as well just say, if there was anyone on this grid right now that I have no doubt about, it's George Russell. He's going to be at Williams for 2020. 2021, anyone's guess. Every single seat is, you could say, up for grabs. But for 2020, in my opinion, why would you replace George Russell, in my opinion? There isn't any single reason. However, the man next to him, Robert Kubica. Now, Robert Kubica, okay, is a good driver, very talented, back in the day. However, I feel like his return to Formula 1 hasn't been the return he would wanted. The success hasn't been there. I know the car is not good, yes, but every single race weekend, 10 times now, he's been outraced. 9 times he's been out qualified. He's clearly, it's just not working out. He's a good half second off his teammate every single race weekend or more. It's just not working, I'm sorry to say, for Robert Kubica. In my opinion, you've got to replace Robert. But who with? I think there's 2 drivers. Nicholas Latifi, okay, the Canadian, or, okay, Esteban Ocon. I think it's going to be Ocon, and there's one reason why. Toto Wolff has talked about the long-term future recently of Mercedes, and if there's 2 drivers right now for Mercedes that represent the long-term future, that is George and Ocon. These are the 2 drivers where we could even see them in maybe a couple seasons time, maybe 3 seasons or 4 seasons, be teammates at Mercedes, possibly replacing Hamilton and Bottas. And that's the situation we're currently in. I think it's a very plausible situation, but why would you not promote both then Ocon and keep Russell in the Williams team, sort of use Williams, help them out a little bit to be a bit more competitive, but also keep Williams with these 2 drivers, and give them these 2 drivers more or less on a free loan deal. It makes sense for both Williams and for drivers in Ocon and George, and for Mercedes, then they can evaluate their drivers thoroughly on track, not just in the simulator. And I think that's the key thing for me, what I'm looking at. Nicholas Latifi, he isn't the future really of Mercedes. I don't see Latifi coming in a Formula 1 car and how can you put it, changing Mercedes course. Okay, for Williams it would be their driver, but as I say, look, you gotta look at it in another light. Is Latifi 5 years or a year or 2 years down the line going to be at Mercedes, Ferrari or Red Bull? That answer is no. So then why would Latifi, or why would Mercedes want Latifi in that car? Why not put Ocon there if you can strike a negotiation? And the simple answer is, okay, there is no reason. Ocon, I think, will be in that car for 2020. So yeah, so there you go. There are my 2020 10 teams driver lineups. I'll just repeat them one more time. So Lewis Hamilton and Bottas to stay at Mercedes. Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc to be staying at Ferrari. Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly to stay at Red Bull. Then at Renault, Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg to stay at Renault. For McLaren, Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, obviously these two have been confirmed to stay at McLaren. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Raikkonen to stay, however Giovinazzi to go, to be replaced by the one, the only, the young German hot shoot, Mick Schumacher at Alfa Romeo. Haas F1, Grosjean to go, to be replaced by Pascal Wehrlein, however Kevin Magnussen to stay for another season. Racing Point, Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll to stay at Racing Point. Toro Rosso, Kvyat and Albon to stay at Toro Rosso. And finally Williams, George Russell to stay, however the Poland, the man that is super cool but unfortunately not been on top form, Robert Kubica to leave, however to be replaced by Esteban Ocon. So they are my 2020 driver and team lineups. So not too many changes, only one or two here and there throughout the teams. It'll be a lot quieter, I think, compared to 2018 driver transfers. But yeah, obviously, for sure, it's still going to be interesting to see who goes where, and to see whether or not any of my predictions are right. And if so, how many are right. What I'm going to do, once every driver is confirmed for 2020, I will do a reflection video on to see how right I was. So I'm going to write them all down on drivers I think who are going to stay at the team for 2020. Also, by the way, I'm going to do a update video on my driver prediction mid-season predictions, and I tell you what, okay, I hope my driver and team prediction is far more right than my, my actual championship prediction, because I'll just give you a sort of hint. This season, okay, I put Max Verstappen down in P10 to finish 10th. Right now, sat 3rd. He's, 7 places higher than I predicted, which is amazing. Gasly I put in 9th. He's currently in 6th, so not too far out with Gasly actually. Still time for that to change actually. Not too many points between him and Sainz. But the point is, yeah, in terms of championship, I'm not doing too bad in that. Just a bit wrong with maybe the actual way round, possibly, but yeah. Anyway, until the next video, I'm your host Julian. See you all next time. Subscribe, like and share, and have a great weekend. Enjoy the German Grand Prix. See you all Monday.